Ladies and gentlemen, many of the drugs that people are buying on the streets have fentanyl laced into them, and they're not aware of it. And it's causing many people to die at record numbers. So this came out in Tampa Bay Times. Local drug users don't know what they're taking. It's killing them in record numbers. This right here that you see in this bag is heroin laced with fentanyl. In record numbers all over Tampa Bay region, people are dying from overdoses, officials in multiple counties say. Opioids are largely to blame, and many of the people using them likely have no idea what they are buying. People don't realize they are playing Russian roulette every time they ingest a powder off the streets, said Paul Carey, the Narcotics Division commander for the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. Statistics kept by the Pinellas County Forensic Lab shows drugs seized by local law enforcement turns out to be a mixture more often than not. As a result, some users looking for uppers like cocaine or meth are getting substances mixed with fentanyl, a synthetic potent opioid similar to heroin. Whether they're seeking out opioids or not, many users are dying. In Pinellas County, 200 died from an overdose in the first half of the year, said Retta Newman, director of the Pinellas Forensic Lab. The record set last year was 323. In Pasco, 96 have died in the first half. The record 165 was set at the peak of the prescription drug crisis. The opioid problem is particularly prevalent in the white community, Newman numbers show. Of the 238 opioid overdose deaths in Pinellas in 2018, 232 of the victims were white. Wow, that means only 6 were not white. Damn. In Hillsborough, numbers are still trickling in from the first half of the year, but the record overdose deaths have already hit 118, said Harrison Cohen, the Hillsborough County Medical Examiner's manager of operations. Last year, the total was 235. It's unclear whether the county is on pace for an overall overdose record, but Cohen said the numbers show the opioid plague is worsening. In 2017, 98 deaths in the county were attributed to heroin or fentanyl. In 2018, the number was 153. This year, the number will likely be higher. People are mixing these to the point that they are dying almost instantly. Damn. Oh my goodness. At a meeting of the Pinellas County Opioid Task Force on Thursday, officials huddled at the County Forensic Science Center to discuss the crisis. The task force was formed in 2017 to address the skyrocketing trend of opioid overdoses. It's led by the Florida Department of Health in Pinellas County and Operations ARP, an addiction and mental health services nonprofit. Present at the meeting were representatives from Pinellas schools, local law enforcement, the county commission, and several nonprofits. In a presentation to a group, Newman, the forensics lab director, did not have much in the way of good news. We have more than eclipsed the drug prescription. We have more than eclipsed the prescription drug crisis, Newman said. Oh, okay. Accidental deaths, Pinellas. Yeah, you can see like the last 3 years, 2016, 2017, and 2018, it has increased. Pinellas and Pasco, each hit hard by the crisis, which peaked in intensity about a decade ago. Now that the so called pill mills have largely closed, addicts are turning to the streets, which we knew. I mean, I was saying that a few years back. If they could not get the drugs they want legally, they'll just turn to the streets. They're finding cheap and easily manipulated fentanyl. Officials at Newman Lab have identified over a dozen different chemical variants of the opioids in their recent testing. During the winter of 2018-2019, Newman's lab found one strain, fluorophenolyl fentanyl, that was unique to Pinellas Pasco. It was reported nowhere else in the United States, and it was associated with 40 local deaths. It has since disappeared. Kerry said fentanyl is difficult to combat from a law enforcement perspective because its potency makes it easy to ship into the county via the mail. Well, they have never been able to fix the problem with all of those drugs coming over from China. They said it's very hard to detect, fentanyl is, because you don't need a lot of fentanyl to make drugs potent. You just need a very tiny amount. Overall, the overdose epidemic presents a complex public health challenge. Officials are forced to balance preventive measures like treatment and counseling with aggressive law enforcement. And if you remember Trump was boasting that opioids were down in the country. It's not down everywhere. And, if I were him, I wouldn't brag too much because fentanyl is still heavily coming into the country every single day. Okay, so Carrie noted that narcotic officers have had some success responding to overdoses. If the patient survives, officers can ask them about their source and then hopefully track the lethal drugs back to higher level dealers. That's very difficult to do. But to carry the fundamental problem in the fight against these deadly drugs is demand. Yeah, I mean, how do you stop people from demanding the drugs that are killing them? You can't. They have never been able to conquer that in the country. And all of these drugs would never be in the country if there was not a great demand for them, you know? And they always overlook that fact when they complain about China and Mexico and how the drugs are coming across the border. And they're even coming across the Canadian border, too. You know, they always want to complain about that, but they overlook the fact that these drugs wouldn't be coming in here if people weren't buying and demanding the drug in the first place. But please tell me what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.